And once again, I'm delighted to introduce our special guests. As you can see in the background, Fiasco is there. That's designer Fiasco, loving the time of night, which is gray ranks and countless other award-winning games that we all love. And prolific game design researcher, writer, speaker, overall an awesome human being. Jason Morningstar, welcome, Jason.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Glad to hear it. I told Matthias Holter earlier this week that it's a dream come true that he takes part in our GMless event. And since you are here today with us, seems like this dream is just keep on giving and giving. It's great pleasure. So thank you for your time. Thank you for all the wonderful game. Welcome once again. And let's start. Maybe you can introduce ourselves to the audience a little bit. What do you do? Who are you, Jason?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you for that introduction. I'm the creative director at Bully Pulpit Games, which mostly means that I am a game designer. I make tabletop and live action games. Vitold mentioned a number of my more popular games, but I make lots and lots of them for not only for fun, but also for companies and universities for more serious purposes. And that is the majority of what I do to sustain myself. I live in North Carolina in the United States, and I am excited to be here. What else would you like me to say?
Well, that's it. I think for in a few short sentences. We'll dig your brain a little bit with more questions, I suppose. But just for the record, and let's start. Maybe I mentioned Matthias Holter, and he told us that you were sort of at the time champion of Archipelago. That he wrote, and we also played the game with your involvement, Loving the Time of Zeit, and then we encountered Last Train Out of Warsaw, which was also based on the framework. What did you find so inspiring and important in Archipelago personally?
So as soon as I saw it, I very much identified with it. I saw that it was something that was very similar to my own interests and tastes for how I like to play. So I was drawn to it, and because I think it does a lot of things well. I really love the way that Archipelago allows you to play in a GMless way while retaining lots of surprise and excitement, and dividing up responsibility and authority around the table in a way that is quite different. So in Fiasco, for example, everything is exactly the same. Everybody has exactly the same authority and responsibility, which is the normal way of doing uh, GMless games because it's the easiest. After that's Teddy Roosevelt is on the Bully Pulpit Games logo. So it's very easy to say everyone has exactly the same amount of credibility. Everyone has exactly the same amount of authority. We're all going to take turns and do the same thing. And most GMless games do that. Archipelago does not. And I found that really interesting and exciting. And the fact that in Archipelago you own some element of the setting, and if there are questions about it, everyone turns to you and asks you. So you've already agreed that, let's say, water is important in the setting, and when you come across a situation where water is present in the scene, everyone turns to you because you own water. You're the authority on it, and I find that to be very exciting.
That's a good perspective. It's also the fact that you have to define the setting elements on your own also focuses you on what's important for your story from the beginning. That's
Right.
also a very good tool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you think it's For you, does it still hold ground, and do you still use those principles from Archipelago, or are you moved on to another games, another ideas?
Well, I'll tell you, I think about Archipelago as as like a utility vehicle. Some role playing games are sports cars, and they're very good at one thing. They're very good at looking cool and going fast. Archipelago is a game that you can do a lot of things with. The fundamental framework is very flexible, and so I have a weekly group. We play as much as we can every week, every Thursday night, and we play Archipelago more than any other game. When
Oh,
we continue to play it all the time, typically in some modified or hacked version. But it's a game that continues to offer me insights that I continue to enjoy. Whenever we come up with an idea, the first thing we ask is, can we do this using Archipelago?
awesome. We're well, maybe not every week, but we played a lot as well in the community and with my friends here. I would say once a month on average. But I asked the same question to Mathis, and he said he didn't play it for like 10 years now. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
the game lives on its own without its author, though he develops on the idea. And speaking of developing the idea, you mentioned hacks, and also like in Loving the Time of Zeit and the other one, there were some changes in the phrases and some changes how, for example, the setting elements were not global, they were assigned to the characters, the themes of the characters. And then in Last Train Out of Warsaw, that is pretty much there is a narrator in the game, sort of a semi-GM, and 10 scenes that are pre-made. It's a very linear game. The joke is that it's literally on rails. But,
Right.
how do you approach changing stuff like that? Why redesign at all? Why hack? Is it like improvement, just experimenting with it, have it fun? How do you approach things like that?
It's a really good question, and it depends both on the the experience that you want to create and the audience. So, Love in the Time of Faith, we wrote that because people were struggling with Archipelago. They weren't understanding how to play, and so
Mm.
we sat down and said, how do we create a version of this that is very direct, that tells you what to do, and when you're done playing, you will have experienced everything the game has to offer in a very simple setting. And so we changed things just a little bit to make it more comfortable for that being your first experience. You don't have to make a lot of decisions. If you play the knight, you get everything you need to play the knight, and we know what the knight is responsible for. And there's no discussion at the table about what's important in this setting. We decided that for you. So that game is designed to train you. It's a teaching game. And Love in the Time of Farina is the same kind of thing. That's like the level two teaching game. So those choices were made because we had a very specific goal in mind. With Last Train Out of Warsaw, I think I was trying to explore the boundaries of the game engine. I was trying to see like how simplified can we make this? Can we make this into a very linear experience and still make it interesting and compelling? And I feel like it succeeded, but it's still, you can still see the bones of Archipelago in it.
Sure, like both of them are like in a different state of playing Archipelago. More things defined, more things advanced. But it's a nice insight that it's like a training game or more inviting game. Because yeah, I would say pure vanilla Archipelago can be a bit difficult sometimes to approach. Everything is in your hands in a way, in
It's
that
true, yeah,
interesting.
and that can be intimidating. And also, when you play, sometimes it'll say the game will tell you something happens and it's not related to what you're doing, but it's important. Make something up. Something goes wrong somewhere else, and that's very challenging. That can be very difficult for people to deal with if they're not in the frame of mind of being very relaxed and adaptable and ready to improvise as they play.
It's on the other hand, yeah, it's all a great teaching lesson, because also the six phrases, the organization at the table, it's something you can use in many different games, all of them, quite frankly, whether they are GM-less or driven by a GM.
I agree. We the one that has sort of transmitted itself into everything we do is I don't think that's going to be so easy, because it's such an
That's a good
elegant
one.
way to communicate to everyone that's playing that you think a moment of uncertainty has arrived, and it's sometimes it's very easy to just forget about that and kind of move forward. But that particular tool is a wonderful one that we use all the time. I use that when I'm playing any game.
I also like in Archipelago, you are quoted to say, you try a different way the more than you think you should, because when you push people, the more you push, the better the story is. And I also appreciate how the whole framework is flexible, but then each piece of it also can be used to like for a safety tool to push people to just experiment with the story. It's a really good set of tools. Yeah.
Yeah, so try a different way is a high trust tool. You need to be with people who trust you and that you trust, because it can be construed as criticism, right? What you did wasn't good enough, and if if that's the way that it's going to be interpreted as very toxic, it's very
Mhm.
unhelpful. But
Can
if
be.
you and I are playing Be Told and we love each other already, and I say, "Oh man, you can do so much better. Try a different way." That way's not that's not the best choice you could make. That's amazing. That can be really fun. Or I'm
Indeed.
very uncomfortable with that. Please try something different, because I don't. That makes me feel bad. Both of
Mhm.
those
True,
require
true.
high amount of trust.
Then Archipelago is, I mean, for at least from our perspective and all the cousins of it, like a staple GM-less game, and that brings me to the topic of GM-less games in general. What do you think? Like, what do you make of the difference between GM-less and with a GM? Where does your preference lean, both as a designer and a player? What
It's
gives
a good
with the
question.
with the GM-less games?
As a designer, I don't care. I am not
Hmm.
interested in making a determination in advance about whether a game is. So this is really a question about how do you share credibility and authority at the table. And there are lots of ways to do that. One way is to have a GM who controls everything except what your characters think and do, and that's fine. That is a time-tested model. There's another model that says everybody has exactly equal authority and credibility, and that's fine too. That is a time-tested model. But there's all kinds of space between those two. And as a game designer, I want to listen to the game that I'm making. I want it to tell me what it wants. I want it to have a conversation with me about what's the best way to handle that particular aspect of the design. And sometimes it'll say there should be someone who's in charge. There needs to be someone who is in charge of these elements. So in Last Train Out of Warsaw, there really needed to be a kind of a narrator role. It just that's what the game told me, and it worked better when I tried it with that. Um, and in other games, clearly that was not necessary. So I think that's a design question that I ask myself, but I don't have a set answer until the game kind of tells me what that answer is going to be. I am not a partisan on this issue. I don't only play GM-less games. I don't only design GM-less games. I'll design the game that wants to I'll design the game the way that it wants to be made, and I'm happy with the outcome being perfect for that game. And the same with playing games. Some games really need a GM, and I'm happy to be that, or to enjoy being a player in a game with a GM. Either way, if that's
Mm.
the way it's supposed to be.
That's fair. And when a game speaks to you, if I jump on that, is it like still at the very beginning of the process where you're still designing it, thinking about it? Is it in the playtests when that comes up? Because I'm also wondering, some of the smaller games that you've made seem like very niche, and I wonder how many plays do they get before they are released?
That depends on the size of the project. So smaller games get less play. That's true. I try not to release anything that I'm not confident is functional. So everything gets played to some degree.
Hmm.
Usually, in the design process, I'll I'll know early on what it's shaping up to be. I'll know that this is probably a game that's not going to have a GM, and often that's correct. The more I make games, the better I get at understanding what what the process is like. But sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes the game surprises me. Sometimes when I play test it, it will become very obvious that I just didn't understand and that it needs something that I didn't give it, or that my assumptions were incorrect. That does happen.
I see. And bouncing off the last train out of Warsaw and changing the topic a little bit, can you speak about your interest in Poland and its history? Because Last Train, Grey Rank, Wild Fields, Radioactive Bisons with Białowieża Fury expansion. And by the way, Białowieża Fury is an awesome title. That's just sounds so badass. But as you can imagine, as Poles, we are a bit curious. Where's your interest coming from? Is there a personal connection, perhaps?
There is, yeah, there absolutely is. My mother's family are Polish. They emigrated from around Karowa. Uh, so I have like familial connections to Poland. I grew up in southeastern Michigan, which is a heavily Polish part of the United States. There are many, many Polish immigrants, or the children and grandchildren of Polish immigrants. So I was familiar with the culture growing up, and I've always appreciated it. And I've always been attuned to Polish history. And since it's part of my background, in a in a removed way, it felt like a place that I not only could explore uh, in an authentic way, but also that I could explore in a way that would be helpful for me to understand my own past. And so it naturally became a design focus for me. Like I'm interested in Poland. I'm interested in your history. I'm interested in your present and your future, and that just results in me learning about the amazing things that have happened or are happening in Poland, and wanting to share that with people. So yes, absolutely, I have a somewhat direct connection, and I. I find it a fruitful well to draw water from, I guess.
Nice. We'll count you as our own now.
Please
um,
do. I would be honored, and I would love to come back. I'd love to visit again sometime.
and we've
I was a guest
oh, you've
appearance
been
on it a few years ago.
oh, nice, nice.
So it
Looking
came and
forward.
spent.
If
Yeah.
we'll try to catch you if you ever come back.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
And on the side, I think Shimon mentioned that in the chat that we played Last Train Out of Warsaw. I think last year that was, we popped up on it and was thoroughly surprised. But we pulled a 10-hour session out of it, if you can imagine. That was
That's
that
surprising.
was
That's a lot.
a really long one. What we played into the themes, and it really yeah, it hit close to home. There were tears in there, and I think most, if not all, of the players said that was one of the best experiences of their RPG experience, I mean, of gaming experience of their life. So yeah, special thanks for that. That was amazing. And I can also see that there's a lot of research and a lot of thought put into it. It's not just random stuff happening in there, and I can see that also in other games as well. I guess you must be interested in history altogether, not only in Polish, not only in your own, but in different kinds. Where does that come from? And maybe if you can speak to why and how you express that in medium of games, because that might be not the most obvious choice to speak about history in games. It's not a book, academic book, an article. It's something people do for fun and entertainment mostly.
I can. So I think that history is like it's the greatest place to find inspiration for games. There is nothing that people are inventing in fantasy, particularly in fantasy, that has not been done better in real life. And so, better or worse in real life, right? The absolute most savage villain in a fantasy novel does not even compare to what people have done to each other in real life. So I'm always drawn to that, and I think that you can look at what's past, what's in the past, and see very obvious connections to the present all the time. So it's a natural place for me to go. I have just an interest in history anyway. Like I would be reading about history even if I wasn't making games. But the fact that I'm also making games means that they're going to have a conversation with each other. The history is going to get in the games are going to get in the history, and I just feel like it's a very fruitful way to explore both mediums.
Synergy in there. That's also, I think, what George Martin said to that people were shocked with Game of Thrones books and what horrible things happened there. And he said, like, did you read history books? That's nothing, except the dragons, maybe, but everything else happened 10 times over, and it's not shouldn't be that of much of a shock. But do you treat your games as a history lessons for people? Are you trying also to educate about maybe those less spoken histories?
Yeah, in many cases I am. Not always, but in many cases, yes. If by playing a game you become aware of something that I care about, or learn a little bit about it in a way that prompts you to find out more facts about it, because obviously playing a game is not the same as getting a lecture from an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm not a historian. I'm not really qualified to teach you. Particularly not qualified to teach you about your own history, Poland. I just am not. If you want to learn about your own history, you have experts that can do that. And I am not those people. But if having a playful experience prompts you to ask those questions or seek those people out, I think that's great. If playing those games gives you empathy for the experience that someone else has had, that's something that I think I can help make happen, and I'm very happy to do that. So yeah, I usually have goals. There's things that I would like you to learn, even if it's just this occurred and you should know about it. This is an
Mm.
interesting thing that's happening right now, like radioactive bison. Right, I'd love for people to know about that whole story, what's happening, and it's not something that anybody in the United States is even aware of. And if you play that game, you walk away having had a fun time playing a silly LARP. But you're also like, oh wow, that's interesting. There are long-term repercussions from this event that happened in another country that I'd never heard about, and I think that's great.
Does it sometimes happen? It's also a lesson for you, like you bite into the topic and learn even more about it as you design your games.
Always, yeah, always. I always learn more than I thought at the start. Typically, when I start with a game that's going to be uh, placed in history or has some historical context, I'll read something that sets me on fire. That's a like there's some incident or something that I'm like, oh my gosh, I should make a game about that. And then the research starts, and I learn more and more.
I see. Speaking of history, I think that's one of the questions as well from the chat that I can answer. Your publishing company, Bully Pulpit Games, took its name and logo after Theodore Roosevelt, President of the United States. I believe so. And yeah, he called the presidential office the Bully Pulpit, if I'm right.
That's
Um,
right.
the
I can explain that.
the
It's kind of a late early 20th century slang. So at the time, bully meant good. It meant something that was positive. So the bully pulpit meant that he had a platform from which to speak to America, and it was a good platform. It was a bully pulpit. So it's a little obscure, and I kind of regret that we named our company after it because it's very confusing to people, especially internationally. But
Maybe it's a story
that's
starter.
the name. That's the name.
Uh, but did you then pick it up to show that the game design is also your bully pulpit, your platform
Yeah,
to speak?
yeah. Yes, it is definitely a bully pulpit because I'm presenting you with a situation and I'm presenting you with information. And if you want to engage with it, then you have to listen to me at least a little bit. And so yes, it is definitely a bully pulpit.
And it is, in a way, a bit of a unique company, I think. Can you tell us a little bit about your cooperation with Steve and your fair play principle and the ideas behind the company and how you run it?
Yeah, so the company is owned by myself and my partner Steve Seghetti. We built it ourselves, and we have a few people who work for us as contractors, but it's really mostly a two-person company. So we're very small, and we don't make a ton of big products because of that. Uh, Steve is more of a business person, and I'm more of a game person. I mean, we're both game people, and Steve also makes games. But in terms of the division of labor within the company, Steve handles contracts, he handles taxes, and I'm off in my own world making silly games. That is our partnership, I think.
But you put also a lot of pressure on like sustainability and fair play and things like that as well. And that's, I
Yeah, that's
think,
another
driving
thing
your
that we got
business.
from we got that from Theodore Roosevelt as well. One of his mottos was fair play and a square deal, meaning uh, treat people well and be honest in your dealings with them. And we try really hard to do that. Um, I don't know that that's a very high bar to achieve, but that's what we try to do. We try to always treat people well. We try to be respectful and to give everyone a square deal, and that includes us. You will notice if you look on our itch page that our prices are higher than most people's because we respect our own labor and we think everybody's prices should be a little bit higher because it's a little bit of a race to the bottom when people are giving their work away and then they can't afford to live, which is not giving themselves a fair deal. It's not respectful. Also note, my Polish friends, that if you want to play a game like Radioactive Bison, get in touch with me and I'll just send you a copy. I would love for you, in particular, the Polish community, to play that game. And if the price is a barrier to you, contact me. I will send you a copy. I don't need I don't need money from you for a game about your own past. That's fair play and a square deal. Just let me know. I'm happy to help.
Appreciate it. And now we have a direct link to you, so maybe somebody will reach out. Love it. And you mentioned that you live out of the company. Was it hard to, because I can imagine gaming in general for designers, it's a hit or miss, and it might be hard to actually pull it off to make it your job, not only your hobby.
It is, yeah. I don't make a lot of money. I'm not I don't know, a success by American standards, um, which is fine with me. Like I absolutely have the privilege of doing what I love and what I'm really good at, which many people don't. So I'm proud of my work. I'm happy to do it. I'm not rolling in dollar bills. It's okay.
That is also part of the payoff, that you can do what you like, be proud of it, and that counts as well, I think.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
I know that many game designers are struggling to make it worthwhile in the financial matters. So also good to hear that it's possible. But also on that note, part of the Bully Pulpit Games is a Patreon setup where you regularly share new games with your supporters. Is that a game a month?
It is, yeah. We commit to releasing something every month, and usually it's a complete game. Sometimes it's something different, but for the most part, it is a game, and it's the best deal in gaming. If you like what I do, it's the best deal ever. We're giving away stuff that we probably should not be giving away.
That
So
is
yes,
really, really cool.
put
But
it in the
how challenging and on the other hand probably energizing is it to work on the clock like that? There's sometimes smaller but probably sometimes bigger games and ideas that catch you on fire, like you mentioned. What's the experience of working in that manner?
I have uh, different responsibilities. So one of the things that I have to do is be a creative person and like make the games that want to be made and be free to explore new ideas. And that process is fine, but I also have to be responsible and meet deadlines when I'm working with a company or a nonprofit or a university. There are very strict deadlines and very business-like parameters around the work, which is different from what I do for Bully Pulpit, because it's Bully Pulpit is my company, and if I don't think up a game, we don't make a game, and that's just how it is. Uh, and so I have a lot of freedom there. But the other side of it is working with clients or sometimes with collaborators. And in those cases, I need to be more disciplined. And so the answer to that depends on the project.
I see. But yeah, it's impressive that you maintain that, and I can uh, I can imagine it might sometimes feel like you're more working than maybe having fun if you're
No,
just,
no, that's not
no?
true. No, I still love what I do. I love making games. I love playing games. I don't know what burnout is. I've never been burned out. Uh, I think because I have the freedom to be creative and do what I want with the company, it allows me to explore a lot of different projects. And then when I do have to be disciplined and sort of focus on things, that's not as difficult. So no, it's a pleasure. I feel very lucky, and I'm very happy to be doing it. I never sit down and
Yeah.
think, "Oh, this is terrible." I've lost my love for this. I know people who feel that way. There's a lot of people who are making games and don't love games anymore, and I think you can tell. I think when you look at their games, you can tell. And I won't name any names, but sometimes you can look at people's games and know that they hate games.
But I'm happy to stand corrected that you're enjoying the heck out of it. Um, In your in Bully Pulpit's last newsletter, there was some news that you're also exploring online tools for Fiasco for network play. How do you see in general online play for RPG games as we define them broadly? Because I think we play more and more online, and I wonder if that's a good thing. Do we miss something? You mentioned in the chat that you mostly play live. Is it a business decision that you're leaning towards it, or is there, because maybe there are also some like design opportunities in online play that cannot be done live, or I don't know. What's your take on online?
Yeah, no, I think moving forward, we've made it. There was a long time when we dismissed online play. We said it's not that fun. It's like 60% of the fun of playing face to face. We're not going to design with that in mind because we wanted people to have the best experience. And that was a very arrogant and ignorant attitude because it's not true. And it was more personal preference for us than it was anything else. So as soon as the pandemic started in 2020, we really had to pivot. We had to learn how to play online. And once we did, we were like, oh, this isn't what we thought it was. This isn't as terrible as we thought. So I still prefer to play face to face. But as a company, we recognize that we need to provide tools for people to play virtually and digitally because they will and they need to. So for moving forward, we're really trying to make sure that anything that we produce is able to be played online, works well online, optimized for that format, um, that we provide tools. And we're trying to, we're slowly moving in that direction. I've experimented with the games that are exclusively played online. None of those have uh, moved out of playtest, but it's a space that I'm curious about, and any place I'm curious about, I'll try to make a game. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see what happens with that.
Curious and looking forward to it. One, there's like a unexplored space of opportunities. I think some of them will
I
turn
agree.
out probably not worth it, but you can, because you can digitize a lot of tools and maybe have like really big groups of people divided into rooms that is really hard to maintain live. There are some possibilities to explore. But that also goes to show that we play differently than we played 5 years ago before pandemic, 10 years ago, 20, 40.
Yeah.
The gaming changes. Your adventure started with the OD&D, right?
Yeah. Yep. I first played a role playing game in I think 1977.
Wow.
So I was just a kid. I was really, really young. And I came from a family of war gamers. My dad was a war gamer, and my uncle was a war gamer. They played hexagon, you know, recreate battles in World War II kinds of games. And so the idea of playing games was very normal, and playing weird games was very normal. And my uncle brought home original D&D one time. He brought it over. The man at the game store had convinced him to buy it, and he said, "I don't know what to do with this. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand it." And my brother and I, we grabbed it, and we knew right away what to do with it. We could understand it. And so from a very, very young age, I've been playing role playing games. And I still play with my brother. He's in my weekly group. He's 4 years older
Sweet.
than me, and we've played games together our whole lives.
But no longer original D&D, I suppose.
Not so
Or do you
much.
still do you still bite in some older games?
A little bit for nostalgia. I recently ran a game of original Traveler, which
Hmm,
was really fun. So the original black
yeah.
box version of Traveler from 1979, 78, the GGW version. Uh,
A
and so like
little archaeology.
a little bit, and that was there were people who had asked me about it because I'm a fan. Like I love that game and always have, and it's difficult to play it now because no one wants to run it. So I said, all right, I'll run it so that we can all experience it, and that was fun. But really, it's more like archaeology at this point.
Cool. But yeah, you've come a far way from like the old school games to being one of the like experimental game designers who is not bound by any format or any rule whatsoever. What how to phrase it? What was the path from that? Because you know when you're a kid and you play just those sturdy old school games, at some point either you are bored with it or you have new ideas. What was it for you that changed the idea of how you play from Dungeons and Dragons to those small game? I mean, not all of them are smaller, but very different games that you publish right now.
Sure, yeah. My path, yeah, I don't know. I was involved in the hobby, so I was interested in what was new at all at each juncture. I've always been a person who makes games. I've always like I've always been interested in like the games that were exciting to me when they were new were games like GURPS, where I got to make it my own, right? I got to decide what was going to be in it and what was not, and change the rules to fit my group and my vision. So I was designing games, right? So GURPS and Budge and games like that, which ask you to be a designer. They ask you to create something that works for you, and that was a really direct path into making games completely from scratch, completely from the ground up, original games. I got involved in the Forge, which was it was a online
Of
community
course.
of people who were really, really interested in making games and making original games and questioning a lot of assumptions. And you can love the Forge, you can hate the Forge, but it really prompted a lot of people to make new games, and that's what happened with me. I saw people doing it. I saw a community of people who were welcoming and that provided access to the tools. So the really valuable part for me in 2004, when I discovered the Forge, was that there were people who were like, "Oh, you should use this printer. These people can make your game. This is how you do it. This is how you format your game for a printer." And those sort of technical questions, there was suddenly a place where not only were people answering them, but they were very welcoming about it. So that was inspiring and very helpful. And I never got super deep into theory at the Forge. Many people did, but I was much more interested in the practical end of it because I felt like I could make a game. I I knew how to kind of do that, and I didn't necessarily need them to tell me the right way to make a game. But it was very valuable to learn how to actually print a game or to sell a game, which I learned a lot from.
Indeed, yeah.
And once
That's the
yeah,
other.
and once that happened, I was fine. Like I had a company and a partner, and the rest is history.
Cool, cool. And that is also because in discussion with Matthias, he mentioned the advantage of having a community. He also mentioned Forge forum, and but he was talking more about how you just play different games and share your designs. And on the other hand, indeed, it's the practicalities and different kinds of support that you can get from a community. That is also a good perspective that it's not always the design that's blocking you. It's sometimes as simple stuff as printing printing your game out.
It's true. And finding a community of people that share your interests, that are excited about the same kind of games you are, is so valuable. So if you're interested in game design, finding people who are also interested in it and are sort of thinking about it in the same way you are is really helpful. That's what the Forge was for me originally. And it's harder to do now. It's much harder to find those communities, but they're out there. A lot of them are on Discord. So
Yeah, true, true. And also, I think because Błękitny Klucz, our community is sort of as well, maybe not so focused on the design, but on, I mean, not in this academical way, but we are involved in lots of publications of games, considering our capacity, of course. But to what you said, what brought us together were translations of games. So also something that is not exactly design, but more practical, and just the urge to share a game to our Polish friends who have just it's easier way when it's translated. So also the first steps were a bit more practical than that. But then let's jump to the recent days and what are you up to now? If what are your latest designs, experiments that you dig, and if like someone wants to catch up with your latest work, where would you direct them?
Yeah, that's a good question. The Patreon is the place where I'm sharing most of the interesting new things. The most recent game that we've finished and that we crowdfunded and are getting ready to print, publish, and distribute is called Zhenya's Wonder Tales, and it's a card-based role-playing game about Slavic folk tales. So I was very inspired by Polish, but also Slavic and Baltic. But so folk tales from Poland and Czechia and Estonia, different places in your general region, uh, to uh, to make a game where you can sort of replay those tales in a very fun way. So that one will be coming eventually. This is a very terrible time to be a game company, especially an American game company. It's just things are stupid and terrible right now. So we're doing the best we can, but it is a challenging time for extremely idiotic reasons, and we'll see what happens with that. I am. What else am I working on? I collaborate with my friend Lizzie Stark a lot, and Lizzie is a very fun person to work with. We've made a lot of LARPs together. Our most recent project is a series of games that fit onto postcards. So I think we have 6 now LARPs and tabletop games that each fit on the back of a postcard, which is a really fun design challenge and has been a real joy to create, to co-create.
That,
Uh,
that's a twist on one pager genre,
yeah,
one postcard.
it's less than an A5 page. It's really, really small. And that's cool. It's a really interesting uh, environment to try to design in. And in fact, if you will let me, I will share one in the chat in just a moment. I can find one for you. Um, yeah, here we go. Copy that. And I don't want to slow things down, but this is so imagine that this is the back of a postcard. And this is a whole super simple little tabletop role playing game that you can play and enjoy.
Yeah, what an
Um,
opener.
it's a 2-player game, and each player is just making 1 or 2 decisions. So uh, you can play it in probably 15 minutes, but if you were having fun with it, you could really get into it. It's a fun situation. So we made Dungeon
Awesome.
Shamble and Dungeon Shamble 2, and then a bunch of little LARPs as well. I'm also working with a company called or not, a nonprofit called Forum for the Future, and I'm building a series of games for a sustainable energy event in Africa that happens in June, where 50 people will play a game about um, potential changes to the energy infrastructure in Southern Africa. And so that's taking up a lot of my time. I've got another client that's building a game about uh, ecological shocks and talking about potential looking in a futurist kind of way toward uh, managing ecological shocks, and that's going to be a really simple card game. So these are some of the things I'm working on.
Cool.
I just I was just in Italy. I was invited to play in Bologna, the event Play, which happens every year in Bologna. And while I was there, I got really inspired by history again and wrote a LARP about the cities of Venice and Padua and a war that they had in 1405, which is pretty fun. It's going to end with some people getting strangled to death, and it's always a good
That's
time.
always fun.
Yeah.
Um, and how about beside testing your own games and doing archaeology with Traveler, what other people's games do you play? Anything of recent that caught your eye and that you're really passionate about?
I don't know that I'm anything that I'm really passionate about. I feel a little removed from the just explosion of new, really small games that you can find, for example, on itch.io. There's tons of new games that are weird and look great, and I just don't have time
Hmm.
to parse them. I need somebody to like tell me like here's 10 games that are absolutely top of the line great games, and I don't have that filter anymore. I used to because there were fewer games being made. Games that I've played recently and enjoyed. There's a game called Super Bandit that is really great. It's a game where you play the pilots of starfighters doing like super starfighter stuff, and then in your downtime you have these tense macho relationships with each other, and it's pretty great. Super Bandit, super fun.
Sounds,
That's the game that we played most recently. I still play,
sounds cool.
as I've said, a lot of Archipelago. I play a lot of Primetime Adventures, which is another.
Hmm.
It's a kind of an older game, but it's just a perfect game, and really enjoy it. Um, yeah, there's just too many games. If you like
Yeah,
Archipelago,
some.
play The Zone. There's a game called The Zone, which is heavily inspired by Archipelago. That is great, really fun, highly recommended, and you can play it online. There's an online version of it that's extremely good.
All right, some pointers that we need to follow up. Do you would you usually play like one shots in short forms or longer campaigns?
Yeah, my home group typically our normal pattern is to try to play games that will last about 5 sessions, which is a session for us is 2 hours. So 10 hours of play, which might be a one shot for you. I don't know. But we sometimes play one shots. They're always willing to try play testing new things that I create, and those will always be one shots just because it takes one section to learn what I need to go back and improve it. But yeah, I think typically we try to play 4 or 5 sessions of a game, and then we'll move on to something different. And sometimes we'll come back to a game that was really fun and play some more. That's how I
Do you
usually play.
do you play Fiasco?
Yeah, I'll play Fiasco whenever I can. When I was in Italy, I played how many? 14 straight sessions of Fiasco.
Whoa.
Uh, our Italian publisher, Narrativa, brought me over, and that's what they wanted. They wanted me to run Fiasco for people. So I played uh, game after game of Fiasco. And I like it. I still enjoy it. It's still fun for me.
Cool. I think it's must be like most successful and probably most recognized of your games. I would
It
say.
is.
I
Yep,
probably
that's
agree.
what it
Yeah.
is.
Did it come as a surprise to you that it became such a phenomena? Because I know I've heard that you made it like for your own group and that you can have a game. Is that so that you can just put in your pocket and play anywhere with anybody? Um,
Well, I make every game for my own group, right? So I'm the first playtester. They're the next playtesters, and if they don't like it, it won't go anywhere. If my brother doesn't like it, it's not it's not a good idea, and it will fail.
Cool.
So I'm making games thinking, well, what will my home team enjoy? Always. And in the case of Fiasco, I worked really hard for a long time at it. That game got a lot of play testing and a lot of refinement. So I knew that it was good. I knew that people would like it. I did not know that it would be a big success. I never know, and or whether it will, have critical acclaim, or whether it will be accepted or beloved or anything. There's no way to know. And I'm
Or
great.
played 14 times in a row in Bologna.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's. I would say that's too many times. Please don't play Fiasco 14 times in a row if you can avoid it. But if you have to, it'll still be fun.
Well, it's one of the games that you actually can pull it off and still have fun till the end of the 14th session. That's true. But it's a bit different in a way than some, if not most, of your other games. Fiasco is not rooted in history. Fiasco is less thought-provoking, I would say. It's light, fun, approachable. Not all of your games are like that. Some of them are about horrible historical events and are very heavy in a way. Why do you think Fiasco hit so hard with everybody, and those other games that are, meaningful, maybe in more profound way, did not?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's a fair way to describe it. If you can play Fiasco to be a game that is a little more serious, if you want to. You just have to calibrate toward the tone that you want to play. Nobody does that, but you absolutely can, and it's very fun. Also, people have written play sets that are quite serious. There's a playset in Portuguese called Planeta Druga that is about the author's experience helping his brother with drug addiction.
Mm.
So like, it's not all zany fun. It doesn't have to all be stupid capers all the time. But everybody loves a stupid caper. Everybody loves a silly disaster. And so I think the game is very appealing because you can enjoy a stupid disaster very quickly, and it's not difficult, it's not heavy, it's not hard to do, and that's a good combination. Uh, Many of my other games are a little a little more serious or deal with more serious issues, and I think that it's just a choice of tone. I've played games of Gray Ranks that were kind of funny, where funny stuff happens because you're playing teenagers, and even in a really terrible situation, there are moments of black humor, and there are moments of triumph and success and joy and love, and all of that stuff is part of it. And if you don't have that, if it's just a grim slog and everything is horrible all the time, that's just hard to do. I mean, it's demoralizing and difficult creatively. So I think that even my most serious games benefit from some lightness, like alter the tone a little bit. Let your characters experience the full range of humanity. They're alive, and that's a gift in a very dark setting.
That's fair. That's fair. And I think it all goes to show on each of the games level and in your designs in general, and as well, I think, in the entire gaming hobby. There's room for entertainment, but there's also room for art, expression, poetry, and some profound topics as well. Let's mix them up, indeed. On that note, a bit more philosophical. My questions are finished. We're running an hour. We can take some questions from the chat. Do you need a break, Jason, or can we continue?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to stay. Let's answer Valfer's questions from the chat, which are
Yeah,
extensive, and other
there's
people
plenty
please
of
ask
them.
questions. I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, go ahead, guys. And back to the beginning. That one was already answered. I think we answer as well that you make a living from designing games, and it is indeed possible. And Chopin also wants you to know that played. Just wanted to let you know I played your backdrop for the game Dialect. And I really enjoyed creating the Shat and Dacha community. And did I get that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for
Um,
playing that. It is not a popular one. I rarely hear about people playing that backdrop, so I'm very grateful that you played it and enjoyed it. And dialect is great. I
um,
love dialect.
then, how do you deal with a burnout? Do you experience burnouts? And how do you
Oh,
return
we talked
passion
about that.
after? Yeah, a little
Yeah, I
bit.
don't.
But is there something that you think you do to avoid it, or is it just happening as you go that you avoid it?
So the advice I often give people who are interested in game design is to be curious. Um, I'm a curious person. I'm interested in everything. I'm interested in everybody. If I meet somebody, I know that they have something to teach me, that they've led an interesting life because we've all led interesting lives. So I like people. I like learning about things. There's nothing that is not interesting, particularly if somebody cares about it. I met a guy who was really interested in lichen, uh, tree moss, like very, very basic biological forms, which seems kind of boring, but it's not because this guy absolutely loved lichen and could tell me all kinds of things about it. And it just made set my brain on fire, right? In a great way. And my whole life is like that. Like I'm just interested in things, and many of those things end up inspiring me. So if I travel someplace, there'll be a game that comes out of it. I just got back from Italy. I've already made a game that's based in Italian history because I was immersed in it and it inspired me. So you know, I'm always encountering something new, and it just keeps my brain fresh. I think I just don't burn out on it.
The curiosity for sure helps, and I think game design can give you the opportunity that you can swap your focus to many different things, and it doesn't have to be boring if you're stuck with one game. Just jump to something that sets your head on fire, like you said.
I do, and
Uh,
also I'm always working on 4 or 5 different things, so that helps too. Yes.
is it hard to finish them all? Do you have those that are just abandoned in the bottom of the
Yeah.
drawer and cry for help?
Yes. Yes, that does happen. Sometimes games will get sort of I'll play test it and it just doesn't feel right, and I don't know how to fix it. And in those cases, I just put it aside. And sometimes I'll return to it and steal the good parts from it for a different project.
Mm,
Sometimes I'll return to it and then keep working on it because I've learned something new. And sometimes it's just hopeless. Sometimes I don't understand what I was talking about. That happens too. My game Night
nice.
Witches, uh, it took me 7 years. I wrote a game inspired by the Night Witches. It was terrible, and I just put it away. And 7 years later, I took it out of the drawer and realized that I had the tools to make it. So sometimes it just takes a long time.
Yep. We have some questions for Waffer indeed. What are some presumptions about Poland's or Europe's role-playing scene in the USA?
Oh
Do
boy.
you even guys think about us?
Yeah, no, I think there's an intense curiosity in 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 both in the United States and more broadly in the English speaking world about what other communities are doing. Um, People are really interested in what's happening in other places, how you play, what games you play, particularly games that are indigenous, that are unique to your culture. Like when I started talking about Jikipola, um, people were flipping out. people were really excited to hear about it because it's a uniquely Polish game based on uniquely Polish themes, and uh, people were really interested in that. The same thing has happened, anytime I talk about what I see when I travel, right? So the game scene in Italy, people are really curious. When I went to Korea, and people were intensely curious about what games people played, how they played them, who played them. So there is a lot of curiosity, but there are not a ton of connections for making those, for making, the, for satisfying that curiosity. So, and
Indeed.
some of that is the barrier of language.
Indeed. And sharing in chat, there's a podcast on Spotify and other medias probably as well. A guy from Germany is interviewing people all over the world because he was curious about how other people play. So he has some excellent podcasts about that as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. I will definitely check that out.
Who's on the Bully Pulpits game logo? We answered. I see you as one of the most approachable designers who collaborates a lot with others, says Waffer. What's your experiences with designing in tandem? Is it hard to achieve satisfying compromise between two designers? Any advice for collaborating authors? That's a good
That's a
one.
great question. I do collaborate a lot. I like to collaborate. I think it keeps me sharp because I have to question my assumptions. When I make games all by myself, there's always a certain Jason to them. There's just things that I think are good ideas that I bring to the table, and sometimes that's not the best choice. And so working with someone else, and this could be a collaborator, a design collaborator, or an editor. Um, Having someone else in that conversation with you and the game is very helpful. So I do like to work with different people. I have a long-standing collaboration with my friend Lizzie Stark, and the important thing there is that Lizzie is my friend. I love her and I trust her, and I think that that's the basis of a successful collaboration. Um, in my company, Steve, I love him. I trust him. Together, our we have a charter for the company, and the first bullet point in our charter is "Stay friends." Because it would be very easy to, be in a stressful situation and become angry with each other and stop being friends, even though we run a business together. And that's just a stupid, tragic outcome. So, find people that are on your wavelength, that want to make the kinds of games that you do, that are excited in the same ways that you are, but that are different, that are weird. And those are the best collaborators, I think.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I think probably you sometimes are lucky and find those people. Sometimes it's a work to build up a relationship that lasts as well. But if it works outside of game design, it might work inside, and but it doesn't have to as well. It's fine not to be a co-designers. It's fine to be just friends, I suppose.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
And I would rather be your friend than your co-designer if being co-designers made us both sad.
yeah. And another one, how do you playtest your games? And do you see some patterns in how many playtests you need more or less to achieve your goal? There's a bunch
Yeah,
of
that's a great
them. I will
question.
make. Uh,
So
yeah, let's go with it. We'll continue on because there's a
just talk
bunch of
about play
follow-up
testing a little
questions.
bit. So with play testing, what I have found, and this may be unique to me, I don't know, is that the more I make games, the more confident I am in their function. So as I'm building a new game, I'm making the right choices earlier in the process now, as opposed to 20 years ago, which means that when it finally gets played, it's more functional and it's less about me struggling to find the right choice as much as being surprised by the choices players make, and finding edge cases or finding rules that I didn't think about or that the game needs or that it doesn't need. Um, it used to be that I would make a game and playtesting would be a struggle. It would be an iterative struggle every time it would come back. I have to change a lot of things. And now in my career, I feel more confident, and that happens less and less, which means that I need to playtest a little bit less than I used to. I'm still aware that playtesting increases the quality of the final product. And so I want to do it, but I want to do it kind of in the right amount. And there's no good measure for that. Um, it depends on the complexity of the project. It depends on the some and to some degree on the tone and theme of the project, the intentions that you have for it. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. What I usually do is my typical process is I consider design kind of playtesting because as I'm working on a project, I'm thinking about how it's going to play out at the table, and that's kind of playing it in my head. And then I present it to my most trusted circle of advisors, who are my dear friends I've been playing with for decades, who will be completely honest with me. And if they like it, then I'll revise based on what feedback I get from them, and then share it a little more broadly. And sometimes that's enough. I'll get some external people to look at it and give me feedback, and we'll be done. And that I will be confident that it's fine. Sometimes it needs even more. And if it's a project that is exceptionally important to me or that is large and complicated, I will want more playtesting. Maybe I'll want to take it to a convention and present it to strangers and see a lot of people engaging with the game. It really just depends. I'm sorry that I can't give you more accurate advice. I would say start small and grow your circle of playtesting in intensity and complexity until you feel comfortable with it.
Do you sometimes go for like full open playtest with sending the playtesting game to everybody and let them run their
No,
games and collect feedback?
I rarely do that. Sometimes we'll share games with our Patreon subscribers. Sometimes we'll share them with particular smaller communities, but we've never done really open play tests, and I don't think our games have suffered for it.
I see.
If you,
Buffer also,
if,
yeah.
I'm sorry, well, just one more point on that. If any of you who are here listening are interested in being a part of that process, we have a Discord where we invite people to help us out. If you're interested in playtesting my games, that's a good place to get in touch with us, the Bully Pulpit Games Discord. And we would love to have you, even if you don't want to playtest.
Buffer also asks about Fiasco. He got from the RTFM podcast, he got an impression that a lot of the locations in Fiasco are super loaded, edgy places for Americans that refer to something. And is that so? Should we look for some meanings? Are those real places? He shares some examples: permanent room in Bell Union boarding house, opium den behind White Star Laundry, Sinclair's Dry Goods, and Mercantile. Are those real places inspired by real locations?
Yeah. So there's really two answers here. I think the more that you know, the more fun you can have with it. So if you're interested in the Trans-Mississippi 19th century Western United States, look into it. Read some Wikipedia pages. That's great. You don't have to. When I make a Fiasco playset, and particularly for the first edition, one of my one of my guiding principles is that I want to give you some very general places or general objects or locations, and I also want to give you some that are very, very specific. And so when I give you one that's really specific, like these, like a permanent room in the Bell Union boarding house, what the hell? That's a very, very tightly defined location that you might not have thought of yourself, and that's fine. I don't care what you do with that or what that means to you. I think looking at all of these and knowing the history like I do, each of those kind of tells me something, right? Like, oh, the opium den behind the White Star Laundry. Well, in that time and place, all the laundries were run by Chinese immigrants. So an opium den behind a laundry makes sense because they were also running opium dens. But if you didn't know that, it's not going to hurt the game. Hunkpatala Sioux camp. If you don't know the unique distinctions between indigenous tribes, that's not going to hurt your ability to enjoy the game. They're indigenous people. They live outside the town. That's all you would need to know. But you can call them Hunkpatala, which gives it a little bit more resonance, maybe. So yes, those are real places. I did real research to give you things that are like hooks that you can use to make your game feel more real. But I don't expect you to understand them. I don't expect you to know what they are. And that's often a problem in translation because many of the Fiasco playsets they do have a lot of detailed things like that, or things that are unique to America for some of the Americana playsets. Like we have a style of house, standalone house called a split level ranch. And if you ask any American what a split level ranch is, they will know. But if you ask an Italian, they won't. And so when we translated a Fiasco into Italian, one of the questions our partners said was, "What the hell is a split level ranch?" And we had to explain it. So if you didn't know that, I don't think it would hurt, but knowing it can help.
Yeah, but there is a second layer you can scratch to and try to find some maybe a lesson, maybe a prompt for your game, maybe something that will just entertain your brain a little. That's nice. And Waffer also says he loves sweetened condensed milk. Personally, and it was super fun reading that you did a game about a company producing it. How much research in that case? Because it's okay, maybe I will not assume. Maybe it is a historical topic, but maybe it's just an idea.
I can tell you about this game. It's called the Helvetia Condensed Milk Company, and I challenged myself at one point. So this is a good argument, supportive of what I've been saying about history. Someone said, you picked the weirdest things in history to make games about. And I said, everything is interesting. And they said, no, everything is not interesting. Some things are just boring. And I said, tell me something boring and I'll make an interesting game about it. And they said, condensed milk. And so I went and did some research into the history of condensed milk. And it turns out to be extremely interesting. And extremely relevant. And I was able to make a LARP that is super intense and full of drama and excitement and betrayal and love. And it's all about a family that makes sweetened condensed milk. So I proved my point. He was wrong. I was right. And in that
That's
case,
how
I
we
did all
do
the
it.
research I could because there's just not that much. Like I learned about this family and everything in the game. Most of the things in the game are true, and then I added some unrequited love and some drug addiction just to keep it spicy.
Does all of your game takes research, or are there some that are just going through either straight out of your head, or how it is with
I think,
the research?
yeah, no, I think that my knowledge, the things that I've learned, impact every game. Some games I don't do any research on. Like I made a series of games recently that are about like a space empire, and you play nobles in this space empire. So it's a science fiction game, but everything that I've learned about the history of European nobility ended up in this game somehow. So, did I do research? Not specifically about space empires, but I definitely have learned a little bit about interesting ways that noble houses can maneuver against each other. And that ended up in my game.
Yeah. Even in condensed milk and sci-fi, you can put some research to use.
Yes.
I think we said already that yeah, you are involved in so many projects. Do you have games you still get back to when possible, or is it always something new? I think for you it will be some old, some new
Mostly
altogether.
new. Like I'm usually playtesting or playing something new. Yeah.
An archipelago on the side.
I'm sorry, and then Archipelago and Primetime Adventures. So I guess I don't know what I'm talking about.
A busy man. Um, Another one. After all these years, are LARPs, freeforms, and role-playing games any different to you? Are lines between them blurred or sharp? Does defying them interest you at all these days? Uh,
Yeah,
there's
I'm
a
sorry. I'm
because
sorry. Yeah,
the backdrop of this question is in Poland is there's a systematic war, as Waffer says. We always argue about it. You know, is it still RPG? Is it true RPG? And people can get in their each faces for it. What's your opinion on the differences, the lines and definitions?
the more I make games, the less I care about that. I am really not tremendously interested in the creating hierarchies or creating semantics around what kind of game or what kind of experience something is. The only time I care about that is when it is genuinely helpful. So if there's a game where you need to get up and move around in order for the game to be enjoyable, it's probably a live action game. It's probably a LARP. Um, if you can play that same game sitting down around a table, then I don't need to call it a LARP or a tabletop game. You can play it however you like, and I am very happy with that. Even with Fiasco, I don't even call it a role playing game. I just call it a game. And I think that's fair. It's a game. Is it a role playing game? Some people have argued that it is not. And those people are wrong, but it doesn't bother me. I don't care. You know, if, if, if they want to have that fight, they can have it alone because it is not interesting to me.
That's a healthy approach, I suppose. Chopin have a question. They will be going to a convention, and as a GM, do you have a recommendation for a game they could run on a convention? Something that fits in such an environment.
Yeah, you could run my games. I Many of my games are designed to be played in between 2 and 4 hours, often with a very light uh, facilitation load. They're easy to run with strangers, and they're usually pretty fun. So that's something
I,
I
I,
have in mind, is making
I
games for
think
conventions.
Fiasco is an obvious choice. It's fun, it's quick,
Yeah.
it's approachable. But what other
Yes.
what you can put but beside Fiasco?
Yeah, a game that's I think is really fun, and some of this depends on what you know about your audience. If you're going to an event where you're playing with strangers who maybe only have experience with Dungeons and Dragons, that's very different from going to an event like this where you're playing with people who love GM-less games and are eager to learn weird new things. The both of those people can have fun with the right game, but you might want to be more thoughtful about what you present to them. So, for example, Fiasco is a really good game for people who have only played D&D. If you've only played D&D, Fiasco will make sense to you and you will probably have fun with it. I say that from having played hundreds of Fiasco sessions with people who were very skeptical about it because they only knew very traditional games. It works fine, and you can be confident that it will work fine. The game is rigid. It tells you what to do at every step. You have to make some creative inputs, and then that's all.
And also
Uh,
you can adjust the vibe to your audience really easy with the
that's right.
playsets.
That's right. Now, a game that I love to run at conventions is my game Cowboys with Big Hearts, which is a really fun game. You get to play old cowboys who are dying, and they're on one last ride to make the world a better place, to right an evil wrong, but they might die before they get to do it. And will they? Won't they? It's pretty cool. Uh, but that's a game that has a very heavy creative load that's probably not going to work with those same people. Anybody who's here listening to me talk, you'd probably love it and have a great time playing it. But you just need to be a little thoughtful about which game you're going to bring to which group. Unfortunately, um, let's see other games of mine that would work real well in a convention one shot. Well, it's not mine, but we published Starcrossed, which is a lovely game for conventions. because if you bring a bunch of Jenga sets, you can have lots of people play at once. Every group is two players, but you can have a bunch of people playing at once, which is fun. I'm looking at my game shelf over here to see what else might be good. Um, yeah, I don't know. You can play a really fun a single session of Night Witches. You can play a really fun single session of most of my games. Uh, Desperation. Desperation might be hard for you to get right now in Poland because of shipping and international bullshit. But it's a great convention game because it's short and fast and really deep and fun. The nice thing about Desperation is that um, you can put as much into it as you want, and if if one person just wants to read literally what's on the card and the next person wants to role play and have a big moment, they can both do that, and each of them will have a good time, and they won't impact each other's fun at all. So there's some suggestions for you. The Zone is a fantastic convention game. I think Archipelago is a great convention game. It requires some strong facilitation to make it work in a convention setting. You need to be like, all right, I'm going to facilitate this. Here's what we do next. Here are the choices to make. But if you're willing to do that, it's a wonderful game for them. Love in the Time of Seeds, great convention game.
Indeed, it is
Yeah.
very focused as well in that regard.
Yeah.
So we are set up now for many future conventions
I hope so.
with many titles.
Good luck.
Another question: do you have a game about Frederick Chopin yet?
Not yet. Although,
Not yet, maybe.
not yet. Yeah.
How do you teach games to people you play with? Waffer says it's super hard for me to run games quick. Like even Fiasco second edition was more like 3 hours. People in my experience prefer to play longer scenes, and it really extends the time.
Yeah, that's a preference issue. I think the way to resolve that, if you see it as a problem, and I don't necessarily see it as a problem, but if it's a problem for you, if, for example, you only have 3 hours and the way that you're accustomed to playing makes the game take 6 hours, it's to be very conscious about that. And the word I use is calibration at the beginning of the game to say, friends, we have 3 hours to play this game. That means that our scenes need to be very short. We need to focus on the important details, and we need to edit our scenes very sharply. If it takes more than 5 minutes to get something done, it's taking too long. So let's keep that in mind as we play, and let's remind each other if we stray from that goal. And often that's all you need to make it work better. Um, but I just want to say that if you play Fiasco and your games take 6 hours to play and you have the best time, that's fine. You're not playing wrong. You're playing the way that you enjoy, and that is totally fine. I don't play that way. I didn't design the game to be played that way, but that's not my game once you're playing it. So do what's best for you. I hope that's a helpful answer to your question.
That the calibration thing, because I think like most of the problems we encounter at table games, at our tables, comes from different expectations that you have from the game. And if you don't communicate your expectations and your principles that are set up for the game, that's where your trouble comes from. But there's no silver bullet, I suppose, that will fix every trouble. Have you played any Polish games or games made by Polish designers? And if there are any you liked?
I have not played. The only one I guess I've played would be Dziki Pola, and that was we were trying to play from a kind of a very poor translation, and it was not super successful. but we were trying to learn sort of how the game was organized and played. Other than that, I don't know. I don't think I have. I would like to. I would love to see more of your games translated into English as well. But at this point, no, I haven't played very much. Uh, I've played games by Polish designers in English. I've played The Beast,
Mhm.
which is Ola Santowska. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah,
the
we
game,
have.
but
I think we have her in the audience. If you want to
oh, you're here?
wave hi.
Well, that's good. It's nice to see you or to have you here. That's great. Awesome. But but not too many.
Cool. Maybe in the future we'll think if we can send you something to interesting from here to play.
I would love that.
Lots of things happen in the chat indeed. I love the idea of using Jenga in star-crossed game. It gives some extra emotions and uncertainty during session. Is there any other unusual RPG mechanic you like in tabletop RPGs in general,
Yeah.
using some strange things?
Yeah, weird things. I don't know. I think games should. I'm not interested in novelty or originality. Uh, so, like, a game should use the techniques that it needs to be the best game it can be, if that makes sense. So there are games that I think are interesting and surprising that ask you to destroy them as you play them. That's pretty fun. There's a game from Black Armada called Wreck This Deck. There's an old game by a guy named Kevin Allen Jr. named Sweet Agatha, which comes as you're supposed to destroy the rule book as you play it. I think those kinds of games are great. That would be, I guess, how I would answer that question. Oh, and the
There is
question about
something.
making a game about Chopin. I don't know any Chopin games, but I do know a Robert Schumann game, which is one of my favorite games ever, which I will link in the chat. It's a game called
Cool.
Derange.
That's cool.
It's about Robert and Clara Schumann. If you like classical music LARPs, it's the best one ever.
Super cool. Yeah, we recently, I don't know why it started, but people were asking questions about like musical RPGs and the things that involve or thematically or mechanically music. Let's check it out. Where were we? Yeah, but and coming to the unusual stuff in games, because there is some fallacy to the novelty, to the gimmicks in the games that maybe they are not they usually don't bring that much value to the game. They have to be really, really well placed in it. But on the other hand, if they are well placed, they can be a game changer for it. But there's also some on the other edge of the spectrum. There is Vincent Breaker saying that for Apocalypse World, he used D6 dice because that's everybody can grab for any game. And it's the easiest way to play a game. So there's also that. And that I think works more elegantly than doing something just because it is strange and it's gonna be weird. It
It's
needs a
true.
reason.
I remember a
And
game. There's a game called Fast Lane that requires you to have a roulette wheel, like a spinning gambling wheel, that nobody has, right? It's just that nobody has that, and so the game doesn't get played. Yes, it's a gimmick.
do you have any questions maybe about us, about Poland, about games we play?
I just want to come back. We got to arrange a way to get me back to Poland. I would love to come back and meet you all face to face and play some games together. It's just getting
All
harder and
right.
harder to do that,
No, I can
but I would love
imagine.
it.
But we connect online, then we know about opportunities and chances. There's plenty of conventions, and people are really eager to meet you from the other side of the pond. So shoot us a message if you ever close enough.
Oh, I will. I
Times get
absolutely
better for
will.
traveling.
And normally I would invite you all here, but don't come here. Do not come here. This is not the right time, sadly.
Yeah, hope Hopefully we can share games and ideas
Yes.
soon as well, because if it's not getting the right direction, if you cannot send a package to your customers or abroad.
So
No, that's a question. There
that's a
is one.
big
Why do
question.
you create games?
Yeah, I don't have a choice. It's uh, I I don't want to sound fancy, but it is my creative discipline. It's the way that I express myself. So I make games because that's how I share what I feel with the world. And I have always made games, and even if I wasn't selling them, I'd be making them. And so that's why I make them, because I don't have a choice. Thanks for asking, though. Oh, and the difference between making something new and hacking, that's a great one. I'm having a discussion about that elsewhere right now. Uh, that's an interesting question, and obviously I've done both. Like the tool that allowed me to make Night Witches was playing Apocalypse World. Suddenly, I had a framework that worked perfectly for my game. So I hacked Apocalypse World, and that's fine. I don't mind hacking. I worry that more people are hacking than are making completely new games from a blank page. And I think that my concern is for the creators, not the products or the creativity of the products. It's a concern because I think that there's a real value in having a conversation with an idea from the very beginning. If you hack Blades in the Dark, you can make a cool game, but the game you're having a conversation with is you, Blades in the Dark, and your idea. So there's like John Harper's in the room with you, and that can be fine. And it's a really good practice to learn how other games work. Hacking a game will make you an expert at that game and understanding how it functions, and that's a valuable skill. But it's a different skill from learning how to listen to a game as it is being created. And I feel that pretty strongly. So like if your creative practice is exclusively hacking games, I would urge you to try to make something from a blank page just to see how different the experience is. It's more challenging in some ways, but also I think more rewarding, and that you'll maybe learn more in the process. So both are good.
And if,
Do both, but do both, not just one or the other.
and if you're scared by the size of the project, take a postcard and start small.
There you go. Yeah, make a one-page game, make a postcard game. Uh, yeah, and the idea that a game already exists, in some ways, that can be demoralizing and make you uh, sad. But the other thing is that ideas are really cheap, and your game will be very different. If I want to make a game about space horror, the Jason Morningstar space horror game is going to be totally different than the million space horror games that totally already exist. So I wouldn't worry too much about a game already existing. If you want to make a game, I mean, if you wanted to make a game about Mormon teenage gunslingers, maybe that's been done. But if you want to make a game about deeply religious young people making ethical decisions, your game's going to be different than Dogs in the Vineyard. So I would do it. Um, and in terms of where you start the conversation, with the idea for me, so like as an example, I made a LARP about these Italian families based on being inspired in Italy. I was already thinking about that, and the game was already talking to me when I read the history of that. So that's where it started. And the things that it was telling me were, this is a game for a lot of people. There's going to be a dozen characters. This is a game, it requires a dozen characters. There need to be a bunch of people here. Um, so it's like it's starting to sound kind of like a LARP. And the game was telling me that. And I could fight that, or I could just let the game be what it wanted to be. Uh, and as soon as I allowed that to assert itself, it became much easier to make.
And in the end, if you figure something out and it turns out somebody already done that, maybe that just means you had a great idea.
That's true.
So
That's true.
that
Yeah, I've always
so always find the upper, not the downer, and you're gonna finally find out something that is unique and will bring you the joy that you wanted.
Yeah, I almost always start with a cool idea, a cool story, an interesting idea that I want to share. Sometimes I will become obsessed with or in love with a particular way of doing something. Um, like right now, I'm making I'm hacking Archipelago again, and have a what I think is a really interesting take on um, how to make Archipelago work. And I will. This is a brand new idea. It's only a few days old, but I will share that with y'all too if you're curious.
Ooh.
So this is a case where like it's the mechanics of the game that I was interested in. In Archipelago, the way you resolve things, there's like yes and no, but, and I wanted to see if there was a way to systematize that a little bit on a page without using any cards or anything. So this would be on a character level, you would have its variety of successes and failures, and this is just like a if this turns into a game, and it might, I don't know, it might not, but if it does, then this will be a game that kind of started from mechanics. So that does happen, but it's
That's a cool
rarer.
insight.
I'm more often inspired by a story.
Well, but I also think that that's where we lean most. We tell stories. We make experiences. Uh, the mechanics are there for us to interact with, but you cannot have an RPG or a story game or whatever without the story part, without the characters part. You cannot just play them. Oh, maybe you can, but it's gonna be a different. I think it's a
Yeah,
different thing, really. Um, so the
that's a
idea.
that's a very deep conversation because I fundamentally disagree with you.
Oh,
But,
okay.
but that's okay. That's okay. Another time we'll have
But,
that talk.
all right, all right. Let's save it for later. Cool. Oh, and there it is. I had a very similar idea recently.
That's good. Make it. Make your idea. It's a big world. I'd love to see what you come up with.
um, okay, if that's it, I think let's wrap it up. I hope I'm really appreciative. That's a wonderful conversation. I'm really happy you could make some time for us. And like I mentioned at the top of the conversation, it's a blessing for this event, for our community that you managed to share those stories with us, those insights. And I hope that we can maybe sometime else grab your attention again and you drop by, or we meet each other in live if you are ever in Poland.
Yeah, thank you very
So,
much. I'm so pleased that this worked out. It was sort of last minute, and I'm honored that you all came and heard me talk. And thank you, Vitold, for such good questions. This was lovely. I would do this anytime, and I would love to come hang out with you all. If you make an English channel, I'll come and spend time with you for sure.
oh, now we have to.